People think Walter White became Heisenberg after the cancer. That is the most comforting lie in Breaking Bad. Cancer did not create Heisenberg. It removed the consequences. For 50 years, Walter White carried something far more lethal than methamphetamine: resentment. Silent, patient, perfectly preserved. Most people imagine Walter as a good man, forced into impossible circumstances. But good men do not build empires the first time they are given permission. They hesitate. Walter accelerated. Heisenberg was never born in the New Mexico desert. He had been hiding beneath beige jackets, polite smiles, and apologetic conversations for decades. The diagnosis did not transform his personality. It simply started a countdown. A countdown that convinced him the future no longer mattered. And once tomorrow disappeared, so did morality. People say Walter entered the drug trade to save his family. The evidence tells a different story. Money was the excuse. Control was the objective. Walter had spent his entire life inside systems that reminded him of failure: a high school classroom, a second job washing cars, former partners who became billionaires without him. Every morning was another reminder that someone else had inherited the life he believed belonged to him. The story of gray matter is usually told as a business disagreement. It was something far more dangerous: the expropriation of identity. Walter did not simply lose a company. He lost the version of himself that believed brilliance guaranteed recognition. After that, every success achieved by Elliot and Gretchen became a permanent psychological injury. Not because he needed their money, because their existence proved that the world could function perfectly without him. Resentment became infrastructure: invisible, permanent, self-sustaining. That is why chemistry mattered so much. People think Walter loved chemistry because it was beautiful. Beauty had nothing to do with it. Chemistry obeyed. Atoms never lied. Molecules never betrayed. Every reaction followed absolute rules. In a universe filled with humiliation, chemistry remained the only kingdom where Walter White was still God. Inside a laboratory, intelligence always won. Outside the laboratory, politics won. Luck won. Charisma won. Money won. Walter never accepted that difference. He believed reality itself had made a mistake. And mistakes could be corrected. The meth empire is often remembered as Walter White's rise. It was something colder: an administrative system. People think Walter wanted money. He wanted proof. Proof that his intelligence stood above everyone around him. The 99.1% purity was never just chemistry. It was hierarchy. Every batch declared the same thing: no one else belongs at my level. The blue meth was never branding. It was domination made visible. Walter did not build a criminal empire. He built a laboratory that financed itself. Everything followed rules: precision, discipline, control. The people inside that system slowly stopped becoming people. Jesse became equipment. Saul became logistics. Mike became infrastructure. Todd became labor. Everyone existed according to function. If a function failed, it could be replaced. That is why Walter's violence feels so disturbing. It rarely came from rage. It came from calculation. Jane died because one variable disappeared from the equation. Brock was poisoned to produce a predictable reaction. The prison murders became an exercise in efficiency. Human beings slowly turned into chemical compounds: useful, neutral, disposable. Every decision followed the same formula: reduce uncertainty, increase control, maximize output. Walter believed he was mastering chemistry. The truth was darker. Chemistry was mastering him. Every successful reaction convinced him that perfection could exist outside the laboratory. If molecules obeyed, people should obey. If reactions could be predicted, so could lives. But people are not atoms. They carry fear, pride, love, chaos. Everything chemistry refuses to tolerate. Walter spent his life trying to turn reality into a laboratory. Every step toward perfection demanded another lie, another body, another reaction, until the empire itself became one final experiment, designed to answer a single question: how much humanity can be removed before nothing human remains? Empires usually collapse because they run out of money. Walter White's empire collapsed because it ran out of purpose. He spent years believing one final victory would satisfy him. One final cook, one final deal, one final fortune. Instead, he found mountains of cash that meant nothing. Millions buried beneath steel barrels, too dangerous to spend, too contaminated to save the family it was supposedly built for. The empire conquered the market. The market became empty. By the time Walter disappears into New Hampshire, Heisenberg has already won. There are no rivals left, nothing left to conquer, only silence. He sits alone inside a frozen cabin, paying a stranger $10,000. Simply to play cards for 1 hour. Not because he enjoys the company, because power requires witnesses. Without someone to dominate, even kings disappear. For the first time, Walter loses control. Not over people, over time. Cancer continues its work. The body obeys biology instead of ambition. No formula can negotiate with dying cells. No intelligence can outsmart entropy. That is why his final confession matters. I did it for me. Not for Schuyler. Not for Walter Jr. Not for the money. I liked it. Those words destroy the greatest lie in Breaking Bad. It was never the story of a good man becoming evil. It was the story of an extraordinary ego finally receiving permission to exist. The cancer did not create Heisenberg. It removed tomorrow. And tomorrow had always been the only thing keeping Walter White civilized. His final destination is not a throne. It is a laboratory. Steel tanks, cold glass, perfect reactions. The only place where reality still obeys him. He dies surrounded by chemistry, the only partner that never betrayed him. Walter White did not lose his life to the meth empire. He fulfilled it. He did not die because of cancer. He died at maximum output. Like a reaction that consumed every available molecule, until nothing remained but silence. Fade to black.